Hi, and welcome again to the Press Forward podcast. Micah Daly here, bringing you episode number 7 of Press Pause, a special collaborative mini-series by WP and Up and WPMU Dev. Over the last month, Nathan Wrigley and I have been on a mission to find and get on the line with WordCampers, aka folks who have attended WordCamps, because, well, we wanted to hear their stories. We wanted to hear the standout moments and the memories that have stuck with them past the camps they went to. Press Pause is a segment inside the bigger story of the Press Forward podcast. It's an effort dedicated to encouraging listeners to slow down, pause, and remember that you're not alone. At its core, WordPress is made up of real people, like you. And that truth is experienced in all of its glory at gatherings like WordCamps. WordPress's community is broad, rich, and diverse, and we hope to show just a glimpse of that throughout this series. So, if you haven't heard the other 6 episodes of Press Pause, I'd like to encourage you to go back and start from the top. And don't forget to subscribe because we're sharing a new episode every weekday in the 2 weeks leading up to WordCamp Europe 2019. All right, cool. So let's dive in. This edition of Press Pause is brought to you by WPMU Dev. You may be familiar with WPMU Dev's plugin, Smush, the queen of image optimization. But did you know that a WPMU Dev membership gives you the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to managing, securing, branding, and optimizing your WordPress sites? You can save time by managing all of your websites right from the hub. Try out the team of super plugins, including Hustle, Hummingbird, Forminator, and more. And get 24/7 access to the All Things WordPress support team. Visit WPMUdev.com today to start your 30-day free trial. Ever since I made my grand entrance into WordPress last year, I've made a surprising amount of friends through Twitter of all places. And that is exactly how I first connected with today's guest.
So my name is Arindo. I'm from Brazil. I've been working with WordPress almost exclusively for the past 5 years or so. And I'm the developer of a plugin called WP Ultimo.
Like Arindo said, he developed a plugin called WP Ultimo that allows you to create your own website as a service platform. But despite finding a career in WordPress 5 years ago, it took him a bit longer to find a community in WordPress. Do you remember what your first WordCamp was?
Yeah, it was not that long ago, actually. My first WordCamp was WordCamp São Paulo here in Brazil, and it was in 2017.
Okay, and how many WordCamps have you been to since then?
Since then, I went again to the WordCamp São Paulo in 2018, and we are about to go to WordCamp Porto Alegre, also here in Brazil, in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. So let's jump into your story. What's the story that you wanted to share in regards to WordCamps and what stuck out for you?
Sure. As I said before, I'm working almost exclusively with WordPress for the past 5 years or so, and it took me a while to go to my first WordCamp. And the reason is because for some reason in my mind, I had this idea that the WordPress community was, I'm not sure, for some reason, the WordPress community was super intimidating to me. So that's why I was always putting off, so maybe next year I'll go. But in 2017, I decided that I needed to take action, and I decided that not only I was going to go to the WordCamp, but I was also going to send a talk proposal.
Wow.
Yeah.
You went all out right away.
And to my surprise, they actually accepted the proposal. So Yeah, I'm not really good at dealing with anxiety, especially when I'm going to be like the center of the attention.
Right.
But the thing is, I was really nervous until the event started because I got to see firsthand how the organizing team was working so hard to make that event the best event possible,
Hmm.
and how the volunteers were always like asking me if there were something that they could do to help.
Yeah.
And yeah, it quickly, all the anxiety went away really quickly,
Hmm.
and yeah, it was an amazing experience.
And how did your talk go?
I think I went a bit too specific.
Yeah.
I chose to speak about something that I'm familiar with, which
Sure.
is WordPress multi-site, and not a lot of people even know that multi-site is a thing. So
Yeah.
it gave me a lot of good ideas because based on the feedback from that first talk,
Hmm.
because at the end of the talk we held like a little Q&A session, and I realized that most of the questions were pretty basic things about multi-site
Sure.
that I just assumed everybody know about already.
Yeah.
So next year, on the next WordCamp São Paulo, I sent another talk proposal, this time trying to address the basic aspects of a multi-site. And the result was actually pretty good.
That's awesome. What happened after your first WordCamp? What was kind of the aftermath? What did it inspire you to do?
So now that I knew that the WordPress community was this amazing thing,
Hmm.
I really wanted to be a more active part of it. So one of the talks that I attended on my first WordCamp was about how to organize a local meetup on
Oh,
your
cool.
city,
Yeah.
and we didn't had one here in Juiz de Fora, which is the city that I live in.
Okay.
So as soon as I got back home, I started to see what the steps were to organize a meetup, and now we have our own small WordPress community here.
Hmm.
We do our own meetups. We try to do it at least every other month,
Wow.
and it's growing and it's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool. That's great. And how many people do you think come out to those now?
The last meetup we had around 35 people, I think.
That's great. That's a good crew right there.
Yeah,
Wow, that's impressive. Very cool. So your first WordCamp kind of inspired you to come home and see how you could implement what you had seen and learned at your WordCamp experience.
yeah, pretty much. I knew that we had a lot of developers here in Juiz de Fora. There's a lot of tech IT workers here,
Hmm.
but there wasn't really an event that could put all of those people in the same room.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I felt so good
Mm.
during that period that I wanted to bring a piece of that to the people working with WordPress here in my city.
For many people, the greatest barrier of entry to a community is intimidation. What if I'm not accepted? What if I'm too late? Or what if I have nothing to offer? And those are real fears and concerns. But on the other side of the coin, community also has the ability to open us up. Just look at Arindo's story. 5 years ago, he released his plugin. 3 years later, he decided to go to his first WordCamp, not as an attendee, but as a speaker. Talk about diving in head first. He felt like his first talk went over people's heads, so he learned from his experience and came back as a speaker again the following year with a clearer presentation. Then, after hearing a talk on how to start a local meetup group, he went home and began bringing WordPressers together in his city. It's bravery and stories like Arindo's that remind me that, sure, community is risky, but maybe our preconceptions aren't always reality. If you were to kind of give a pitch or invite somebody to a WordCamp, how would you, talk somebody into giving WordCamps a try?
It's really hard to explain, but I think that the only way to really know what a WordCamp is like is by going to one. You'll see that every preconception that you had about how the community works and how people treat each other, you'll be surprised because people are really, really kind and generous, and they are genuinely interested in the things that you are doing, and the exchange of ideas and the things that you learn on the talks. It's awesome experience.
The Press Forward podcast is a production of WP and Up. The Press Pause mini-series is a collaboration between WPMU Dev and WP and Up. Nathan Wrigley and me, Micah Daly, produced this episode, and I created the original score. A big thank you to Arindo for sharing his story with us today. And thank you all for listening. Remember that together, we can press forward.